Hello people, so this video this time does not have a topic. Um, so I'm just at my home, I'm having a day off, and I'm totally lonely. I have nobody to talk with, I have no friends, I have no family here. I'm waking up at a very so because my work schedule is sort of late at night, so even when I have a day off, I have to maintain my sleeping schedule so that I could go to work without being sleepy when the work day comes. So yeah, I don't. This video is not going to be about really anything specific. It might be about meditation, just me sitting silently here, or maybe just talking candidly about life and things in general. I'm a talkative person, so sometimes I feel like there is nothing I can be talking about, and then out of the sudden, just thoughts flow through my mind. So that's pretty interesting. Maybe being lonely is also part of that. Sometimes I feel like I'm a really extroverted person. Um, But yeah, so my situation here is not very unique. If you're somebody who's not in America, who's not living in the Midwest, because I'm in the Midwest, specifically Ohio, a lot of not, I'm not sure where the percentages, but many younger men, they share my positions here. Just lonely. You're at your house, you're at your rent. I mean, at your apartment. In the past few years, there are days that would come that I would never open my mouth to speak. Um, like, you'd be so isolated that the only reason you'd open your mouth is to like eat. You would not use it to talk for days to the point that maybe part of you forgets how to even speak sometimes. Um, I guess while we're here, I could tell some stories. So let me tell you about this story. At some point in my life, about 18 or 19 years old, I was sent by my parents to study medicine in Ukraine. You might say, why Ukraine? Well, it was cheaper. It was something that my parents knew that people did go there, and so they felt it's somewhere that is they kind of know something about. And that was in 2015. That was before any war. Nobody knew anything was going to happen there. So I went there. I was in Ukraine studying medicine. I was supposed to be a doctor. Let me tell you about my experience there. So I went there as a young guy. And I was supposed to study there, but also part of it, I was hoping that I could socialize, that I could have some sort of a life. Like, I lived previously in Qatar, which is like how America is in terms of loneliness, but it's even 10 times that. It's even worse. So yeah, so in Ukraine, I don't know, I was hoping that I could hang out with people, I can make friends, while I'm studying there. Now, what happened is that a bunch of things happened. First, I found out the brutal truth about, I'm not gonna like criticize them and call them racist or whatever, but as a kid, I was so innocent that I didn't consider ethnicity or racism or culture. I didn't consider any of these things. To me, it sort of was like simple mindset of, oh, I'm a human being, you're a human being, we can talk, we can interact. So that was my mindset, right? I'm a human, you're a human. Let's interact. Let's speak with each other. Let's hang out. So that was my mindset. So I was struck as my first time as a young person. I was struck with this reality when I was in Ukraine that people not only do not speak English, many of them, um, they looked at me as certain. They had certain stereotypes about me, like being from Qatar. I lived most of my life in Qatar, so I don't know. I'm from all over, so but yeah, I lived in Qatar before that point, for about 15 or 16 years. So people had weird ideas about me. Some people did not want to associate with me, which I'm not blaming them or anything, but I just didn't see it coming. I didn't know what I was signing up to. So yeah, so I have, from there I was struggling more with loneliness. At that point also I was really traumatized by my parents. My parents were heavily abusive, and I'm not talking about Western standards. No, I'm talking about hit you in the face until that you're red, blue, and green and bleeding out of your nose every like 2 weeks. This sort of thing that sort of like being an MMA dummy. And this was not even the worst of it, of the abuse that I went through. It was the psychological torture. It's basically, if you've been to some, if you heard, so that and I know I'm going on a tangent now, but I just want to speak about this because a lot of people, sometimes people don't know about this. So there's something called a psychological torture. What does that mean? So this happens in some prisons. It might happen in the Israeli prisons maybe or something. But yeah, it certainly happened at some prisons. So where basically when you give a prisoner a contradictory task or a contradictory task or a task that cannot be achieved. So let's say um, to like give them, let's say like a some sort of marker, right? And to tell them to draw a square, right? And so obviously their first response would be just to stand there, be not sure what to do. So you would beat them, you would hit them so that they start to try to do something like that, and they don't know what they're doing, but they're just trying because if you don't try, you'll get hit or you will get electrocuted or get punished. So they force you into that psychological nonsense where you're trying to do the impossible and until that your mind breaks and just keep going. And so it's a mechanism to make you lose your mind, right? Now you might say it's very brutal, and it is brutal. But what's more brutal that one of my parents practiced that on me from a young age. He would do that. So basically, to give two contradictory tasks or tell you. So let's say he would tell me like, do you know about this? And I say no, and then it would hit me until I say yes, and then when I say yes, he said, "Why did I lie?" And so it forced me into these situations where it's nonsensical. Like he would force me to say yes, and then say, "Okay, why did you say no?" I was because it was the truth. So you get punished for all directions that if you think rationally, you think rationality gets punished until that force you into this state of nonsensicalness. So I come from this sort of abusive environment. And so I was in Ukraine. I was trying to hope to have more normal human interaction to heal. This was part of of the reason that I was trying to go from outside of that environment to begin with. Wherever. So in Ukraine, I found most of the people, as I explained, they keep their distance, which I understand. But at the time, it was heartbreaking, because I'm trying to reach out. I'm trying like, hey, how's it going? Trying to hang out. But most people would not hang out with me. I found at least one person who was a Ukrainian person was pretty chill, pretty good person that he would hang out with me. Um, I'm hoping he's doing good now. He's still in Ukraine through all the war and what have you. And I met two American Ukrainians, which were pieces of crap. This was my introduction to people who are American before being in America. And they were a piece of crap. They took advantage of their privilege, of the fact that they had money and they understood a lot of things, and they come from a more privileged background to basically dunk on other people. They would get wasted. They would get drunk. They would never focus on their studying. Um, Wherever. So times go by. I'm more depressed. Blah blah blah. At some point, I'm visiting my family back, and then coming back. And what happened is, so in Ukraine, the western part, there's a town called Lviv. Um, and so this town is where my plane sets in. So I have to be. So I'm coming back from Qatar, going to Ukraine in the Lviv airport, and so I'm supposed to take this train, and it's gonna go for about seven hours to this town. It's called Ternopil, where I used to live at and study at. So yeah, so I am in Lviv at the airport. I'm taking a bus from the airport to the train station. And you know what happens? So I'm switching buses and I lose my freaking wallet. Looking at my pockets, searching, looking here and there. No freaking wallet. Wallet is gone. Looked at it in my luggage everywhere. No freaking. Now what is in the wallet? Well, all of my money, everything, all sort of identification. So right now I have about two 20 pounds luggage bags, me by myself in a rainy, winter, cold Ukrainian day, not speaking. I speak just a little bit of Ukrainian at that point. People don't speak. People don't really speak English. So yeah, I was there, and what happened is, I was begging people to just show me like a police station, somebody that could help me out. And so I reached this police station, and then the guys there were actually drunk. They were drunk police guys, and like, "Хочешь vodka, blood?" Which means, "Do you want some vodka, bitch?" And I was just like out of my mind. I was tired. At that point, I have never slept for more than 24 hours. I was losing my dang mind. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I want to cry. Nothing like that happened to me before. And so I sat there, and he was like, "Well, what do we do?" I mean, I could barely understand him, but he's like, "What do you want us to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, find me a way on a train so I can at least reach my apartment." So I stayed there for hours, just begging them, basically, just be like, just wherever. It doesn't matter what you need me to do. I need to get there by, at least 1 or 2 days. I have nowhere to sleep. I have nowhere to go. Whatever. So he knew a guy who could throw me in with the luggage. Like it was like a luggage train that goes to Toronto. And at that point, I didn't sleep for like 26 hours or so. So he threw me with the luggage in a luggage cargo, and I was supposed to keep being awake. So, but in exchange, I'm supposed to pay him what's like 5 times the train ticket. But yeah, so I hopped. I didn't care about. I was like, just wherever, I will do it. I hopped on the train, and I, I was battling going to like I was battling sleep. I'm just slumped up on the luggage inside of this train, and I gotta stay awake because in 6 hours, because my phone is dead, and I have nothing to wake me up, and in 7 hours I have to be awake to know when to get off. And yeah, so for 6 7 hours I was literally like resting an eye and opening another, just one eye like that, like that, praying to God that I don't fall asleep. It was torture for seven freaking hours. I'm awake. I couldn't think I would make it. I thought I'm gone. But I was so scared. I was so anxious as well. I was like, if I miss this, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. But yeah, so that's what happened. And I made it. Miraculously, I kept being awake until the point came where I could get off the train, drag all of my luggage in the snow and the dirt. Took me about an hour or two to get to my apartment walking, and as I could retrieve my key and all of that. The keys were not in the wallet. So I open the door, I see the bed, I fall on it unconscious, sleeping. Now guess what? Next day I had an exam. I overslept for the exam. Um, so I was freaking out. I didn't know if I called my parents that I don't have any money. I didn't know what to do. Um, and I was, at that point, I was already, as I explained, like I was struggling with depression and PTSD and stuff of that sort. So I just could not do it. I was just stuck to bed, and I called my mom. I was trying to battle it, and my mom at the time, she was like kind of insulting me. She was like, "What are you complaining about? You got nothing to complain about. Dog is better than you." And that just, she said a lot of other stuff, and stuff like that. Abusive parents, abusive relatives that might speak with you in that manner. At that point, that just broke me. That broke my freaking mind. I was like, I don't know. My mind just shut down, and that's where I ditched the medical school because I couldn't do nothing. I was so depressed out of my mind. I couldn't move out of bed, and eventually my parents uh they were like, okay, I stayed there for like a month or two, and they were like, if you're not doing anything there, you're just wasting money. You might as well come back. And I was like, you know what? You have a point. you know. But yeah, so that was a crazy story, isn't it? I'm not gonna go about what happened after, but that was such a crazy story to me. I think most people did not go through something like that. All right, so yeah, it is a lonely day. I'm just trying to keep a positive mindset in a situation like this. If you are a person who's going through loneliness or going through being alone for long hours, um, best thing you can focus on is to not let your mind loop on negative things. So your mind naturally is gonna look for something to stimulate itself. So your mind loves stimulation, right? So if there is no stimulation, it will make up one, right? Sort of like what I'm doing now. So I'm choosing to speak here in this video in this lonely night of mine, because I don't have any other stimulation. So I'm just using this as a way to pass time in a way. Um, but yeah, so the best thing you can do is that you catch where the negative thinking and not let yourself uh, be caught by it. So don't be caught by the negative thinking. Maybe you remember something embarrassing happening and you start to think, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a piece of crap." You just gotta let that go and just be empty-minded for a second and wait until a positive thought comes. Now, if you could do that enough times, eventually you could probably reach a point where you can do something somewhat productive. You might not be able to go far if you have depression, or you're like me, which I don't think I have many dopamine receptors left. You know, and I have a bunch of theories. I have. It's been a decade and more that I've been interested in psychology and mental illness, and as you already know, I have a medical background, so I know a thing or two about that, and I use my knowledge to research that. But I can speak about this in a different time. I don't want to speak about it now. But basically, um, people who have depression, what does that mean really? It's that you know every person, every animal uh, has something called a reward system. What does that mean? Is that this dopamine thing? So it's basically you do something, you have a good feeling, you get a dopamine hit, encourage you to do it again. So it's a cycle, right? So you do something, it feels good, encourages you to do it again. You do it again, it feels good, and sort of like that, right? That is basically the basis of everything that we do, right? Depression is, I'm not talking about just having a depressed day, like a major depressive disorder, something like that, right? When you have that, what that means is that your reward system is effed. It's burnt. It's a burned circuit. It used to be a good circuit, and now it's a burned circuit, right? What does that effectively mean? That means that, you know, you don't feel like you have no drive to do anything because your brain is not making the connection. It's like almost like you have no dopamine receptors. Doing something is not giving you dopamine. Drinking something, eating something, doesn't matter what you do, it's not giving you any dopamine. It's not giving you any dopamine. What that effectively looks like from the outside is the guy is not being able to get out of bed. You can't get out of bed because your dopamine system is effed, right? It's effed most likely because it has been strained too much. So, usually since you are a baby, building dopamine cycles, I would call them, sort of takes time. So let's say, as an example, your dad or your mom tells you, "Hey, um, bring me this cup of water," and so you bring her that, and she smiles at you, and she like gives you a hug or something. So that's the first step. Then the second step is like, okay, you like bring a glass of water and you fill it with water, then you bring it to her. So now it became two steps, right? So you keep building on that, right? If eventually when you are an adult, or at least close to it, you understand a concept of money. So you're doing something to do something to do something to do something. Like, you study so you can go to work, so you can go to work every day, so you do a bunch of tasks, so this, so that, so you get what's called money, so you can get what you need, right? So it's a huge, it's a long freaking circle now. It's not a simple one. It's a very complex, big circle. And so this, if a person, so there are a bunch of things that happens that can mess that up. One thing is if somebody trying to build it too fast. So if you're trying to go too fast from one step to another, a human being cannot learn that fast. You got to take it step at a time. You have to cement having two steps between the action and the dopamine and getting what the person wants. And then after that, you have 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, etc. The other thing that messes this up so bad, which is trauma. What does that do? So let's say if you do an action and it hurts so bad, so this works in the opposite way. If you are in pain about something, you want to avoid the pain. So it's the opposite of, I don't know if there's something that is the opposite of dopamine, or the brain simply stops all the dopamine at once, that you feel that you're averted by it. So let's say you went to a grocery store and a lady there insulted you, called you ugly, made fun of you, and everybody laughed at you. So now you could say you have a small trauma of that shop, right? You will avoid going to that store for maybe years, or maybe for the rest of your life, maybe for months, but you will avoid going to it for a long time because your reward system is telling you, to just avoid doing that action, because it's kind of the opposite of reward. It is a punishing act. So you avoid that, right? Now, what happens when, let's say, every store you go to, the same thing happens? What is the result? You will avoid by nature, not by logic, but by intuition. You will avoid every store because the punishment is too much. Okay, so let's extend that even a little more. Let's say that doesn't matter what you do, doesn't get you any reward. You're not like, so let's say you as a kid, you love a girl, maybe you love to do something specific, maybe, so you want to get somewhere specific, and nothing is getting you even close to what you want to get. So that causes a very broad aversion to a lot of things, especially if you keep trying. You try this, you try that, and it's all closed doors. Closed door here, dead end there. Doesn't matter what you do, you're not getting to have a relationship. You're not going to be respected. You're not going to be praised, especially as a kid. You know, so you're not getting your, like, it doesn't matter what you try, you're not getting your natural needs out of the environment. So this causes a very broad trauma, and this is what can very much cause this big depression thing, where your reward system shuts down because it sees a dead end. It's like, and this is not a matter of logical thinking. It's intuitive. Your body just shuts down, sort of just stays like that, because it feels on a very deep level, and it's very convinced that nothing it does will lead anywhere good, so it just stops. So, you would not probably hear that from psychologists, you would not hear that from therapists. Um, and the way, so I want to write a book, except that again, my reward system, uh, my dopamine receptors are very few. I can barely do anything, which is why I'm choosing this form of something that I could do beside going do my job and stuff like that. I'm choosing to do this because it's not energy intensive, so it's easy for me to manage. I'm taking very small steps to build the dopamine cycle. So do something that I could do, not as many steps, and it gets the reward. Not every time, Sometimes it gets the reward, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, so this is what I'm doing here now, and eventually I want to write a book about this and many other stuff that I have discovered. I have one in the world. I I didn't listen to anybody because I started, as my life as a kid. I couldn't trust anybody because everything was so effed. Everybody, I couldn't trust anybody because I would be punished by trusting anything. So I had to go through life figuring things on my own from the bottom up, from the very basics of what does it mean to talk and who to talk and what to talk, from just the very everything I learned it from the ground up without listening to somebody else telling me. I had to figure it out all on my own. So along the way, I've discovered a lot of things, a lot of kind of things that nobody is speaking about. It's out in the open, but it's sort of the hidden mechanics of how things is going. Like if life was some sort of a matrix, and you sort of open it up and see what's going on inside. So a lot of things like that. I have discovered a lot of inner mechanics of life and of being a human and of reality. And I want to write that in a book because, as you can see, speaking is not my strong suit here. you know, uh, I get nervous, I get anxious. Not as much as I used to. And I'm really a lot better. And I'm pretty sure there are some people who are a lot worse than me. I'm not as anxious as some people. I'm pretty comfortable talking with strangers. I'm pretty comfortable talking on the camera, even though I do have a stutter. But yeah, so I hope to reach that point eventually. When I get enough time and energy. Uh, that I'd be able to write a book about all of that. Until then, I'll just keep talking here from time to time, making various clips and videos. Um, so okay, so it's about 30 minutes, so let's not make this long. I might make another one for the night. Uh, so I guess at the end of this, if you feel lonely, just know that there are people like me too who might not have the privilege to video themselves through their long lonely nights. I got nobody to talk to. I got nobody in my life. I'm just here by myself in a place where I don't have anybody that I know. Just totally isolated. There's nothing going on here. I don't know if I have a future. Past seem very distant. And most of you might be in an even better place than me. You might have people like friends or family members that you can talk to, and you can start from there. You can contact them and see if you can meet people through them. You just gotta start somewhere. You just gotta go out there and keep trying, and it's not really about succeeding. I'm not doing this because I'm hoping that I'm gonna get a lot of views, or even though it would help. It would help my reward system. Because I would feel rewarded, and so it would make me able to do more stuff like that, and even maybe other stuff. But I'm not doing this necessarily for that. I'm doing this because to do something is better than not to do anything. To just keep trying for the sake of trying, not for succeeding, but for just trying, for doing something, anything. I can't do anything else but this. I have nothing else to offer about my own mind. Maybe stories I can tell, things that I have learned. And if you're watching this and you're maybe a little entertained, maybe you just like hearing a random guy speaking, then leave a like. Be good to me. Please do not harass me or bully me. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for staying watching this crap while I'm very lonely. Stay strong and don't budge.